Hello, everybody. It's Thursday, June 20th or Friday 21st, depending on which part of the world you are. And this is the Backdrop user group meeting. And the topic for today is how to use your Contrib repository to promote Backdrop or discover Backdrop. And usually how these meetings go is we start by doing short introductions going around the room. I'll start with myself. I'm Greg. I'm joining from Melbourne, Australia. I'm a Drupal support engineer for a hosting company by day, but I love everything related to Backdrop and any way that I can help. Let's go with Martin.
Hello, I'm Martin Price. I'm a web developer for my company System Horizons in Northeast England, and I mainly deal just with Backdrop, and I also develop in Backdrop mainly in the Contrib space. We'll go to Joseph.
Hi, I'm Joseph. I'm a developer from Las Vegas, Nevada, and a core committer for Backdrop. And yeah, curious to hear about anything related to marketing. And is Sarvashri next?
My name is Sarvashri. I'm in Walnut Cove, North Carolina, and I'm interested in getting more people to understand what Backdrop is and how it can benefit them. So I guess we're next with Tim.
Hi, my name is Tim Erickson. I am in Deerwood, Minnesota. I've been busy with Backdrop stuff lately. Greg and I are both on the PMC, the Project Management Committee, and we had a meeting recently, and we'll be posting some notes about that soon. And I've also been real involved in working on a Contrib theme called the Zever theme. And if there's a little time left at the end today, Martin, last 5 minutes or less, I'd like to do a quick demo. But if not, don't worry about it. That's everybody. I just like a quick announcement before Martin starts. We do need topics for future user group meetings. If you have any topics, or if you're willing, things you want to present on or things you want to learn about, let us know. Okay. There was some talk about config management. I'm wondering if it wouldn't be time to do a user group meeting on config management. If to do that, we need somebody that is knowledgeable in that to help. So if that's you, let us know. Go ahead, Martin.
Right. Okay. Let me switch over. Okay. So we're going to talk about how you can use the repository where your Contrib project, most of them are modules, but there's also themes and layouts, how these repos can help point people towards Backdrop and overall help to promote Backdrop. So we've got a couple of places in GitHub. In each repo, we've got the description. We've got the ability to record a website, got the ability to record topics, and we've also got the README. And here we can see those. So we've got the description up here, the website. Just wondering if I can get my mouse over there. So we've got the description up here, the website, and then the topics, and obviously the README. So let's narrow down on the description. And what should be included, first of all? What we want this to be is a readable explanation of what the module does. So if someone's searching for keywords in the list of repositories in GitHub in general, it will appear with the name of the repo, but then it will appear with this description. So we want it to be very clear. It's like with Google search. You want to present to Google a clear description of what the site is, so people looking at the search results can know if they want to look at it further. And let's go to the next one. What we want to try and do is, if we can, include the words backdrop CMS in that readable description. So, for example, I might say enables you to do XY on your backdrop CMS website. So it's just a way of boosting how many times the phrase backdrop CMS appears across GitHub and also across the web, because these descriptions are picked up in wider web searches. So if we're doing searches on Google for backdrop CMS and we've got backdrop CMS in the description, then they will be appearing in there. And next, so we might have a name of a library or integration if applicable. So I've got one module that deals with gists from GitHub and displays. So I've used a number of different keywords around gists. You can generally see what other, when you start typing topics, you can find topics that are related to what and pick them, and you can have up to 20 topics, so it's important to make use of that. Oh, that's not what I wanted to do. Let's go to the next, and suddenly let's get rid of that because it's not working. And so what not to include. So we see this on quite a number of repos where we've got backdrop port of or backdrop version of Drupal 7. We don't need this in the description. This information is in the README where we do the credits and we say this was ported to backdrop by this, and this is who created it for Drupal, and this is who maintained it in Drupal. We've got that information already there. We don't need to include it in the description. There are currently 21 repos. It's down one since I did this presentation at Backdrop Live that include this in the description, which is not ideal. And what we don't want to do is just do a list of keywords that doesn't make a readable sentence. That's not good for either users looking at it in the GitHub search results, and it's also not good for Google search because they don't like just keyword stuffing. They like to find the keywords in a readable sentence. Okay, we've got a website field as well. And what we recommend is that it's linked to the project page on backdropcms.org. And that's a way of just getting links to backdropcms.org that people can follow from as many different places as we can. So, for example, if the name of the project is just filter, then that's what the URL would be. Topics is arguably the most important thing. We can have a maximum of 20 topics. They appear on topic pages. There are 77 repos that match Backdrop CMS, of which 54 are on Backdrop Contrib. 30 of those are mine. There are 9 that are on Backdrop Ops and 14 other. So considering we've got over 1,000 repos in Backdrop Contrib, it's quite a small number that we've got in there. GitHub looks for exact term matches with topics, so that's where we need to use these 20 topics to our to our best example and consider what exact terms we want to consider. So, for example, we can include both Backdrop CMS as a single word, and also Backdrop and CMS as separate words. So when people search for either of those on GitHub, it will include all the repos that include those. Both CMS and Backdrop are used for a number of other things. But from my research, Backdrop CMS, even though there's a number of things on people's private repos, their personal public repos, they're all related to Backdrop CMS in one way or another, even if it's just someone's experiments.
Martin, can I ask a question?
Of course.
Remind me quickly where you're talking right now about. We talked about the description of the project, but now you're talking about, did you say topics or?
Yeah.
Or is this within the description?
Let me just hide that. So if we look here, so this is what we've, I'll zoom in a bit so it's clear. So this is the description. B is the one of my projects that breaks the rule because because it's not a module in the usual way of things. Everything's on GitHub, but these are the topics. So if you click on this particular thing here, you get the different topics. So you'll see here I've got Backdrop CMS, CMS, CLI for command line interface and command line tool, and I've got PHP in there as well. So that's where we've got the topics. And if you were to start typing, let's say if you were to start typing config, so we had, if it was a module that was related to config, you could very easily just start typing config and say, actually, I want to link it to configuration management, because that it is, because what we want to do is try to cross-link. So someone might be looking for, let's look at this, for example. Someone might be looking at, they want to know what CMS can support gists. And so they might then come across this one and find, oh, great, there's a module for Backdrop CMS that supports gists. This is all, it's all just about kind of having a multi-pronged approach, but sometimes people will be, what things it can integrate with will be an important point, will be an important factor. So let's just go back to PowerPoint.
Thank you. Yeah, I didn't know that was there.
Yeah. So we've got library or integration name. So you'll see there that I had gists and had GitHub. and had just files, because we can do things so it's relevant to the different integration, and got others where it integrates to different services, that it's important to do that so that people looking particularly for that integration can find it. Function type or keywords relating to function. Again, I think this is important. It helps people find particular modules and what they do. The README, a lot of this is included within the template, so we don't need to worry. So within the template for module READMEs, there is a link to where you can how you install it and what the installation instructions are, and there's a link to Backdrop there. But then in the credit, we've got options to also mention Backdrop CMS. So we can say ported to Backdrop CMS, that's one mention, or and we do get have quite a few of these. We have a number of modules that are created for Backdrop CMS, so we can either do created for Backdrop CMS, develop for Backdrop CMS. And it's just about getting those mentions of Backdrop CMS. The READMEs are included in Google search results, so it is important. Okay, and now just going to sort of talk a bit about the distinction between, are we doing search engine optimization, or are we just sort of trying to build up traffic? And it's a bit of both. So we're specifically focused on the search engine optimization within GitHub itself. So there's the name of the project, which a lot of the time we don't, if particularly if it's a port from Drupal 7, we don't have a lot of choice about the name. We're stuck with it. If we create a new module from scratch, then we have a bit more choice. But we do have a lot of scope with the description and the topics. The other factors are stars, and this is where, even if you don't maintain any contrib repos, but if you have a GitHub account, go through, and any modules that you like, that you use, or you want to, you think I might like to use that in the future, give them a star. It helps you to find them when you're looking, thinking, I'm sure there was a module there. You can look in your own stars, but it helps to build up the reputation of these repos. The more people that star a GitHub repo, the more prominent it will appear in GitHub search results. And also how many people are watching a GitHub repo. In the last time I did this in Backdrop Live, I said you might only want to do this on ones where you're actively involved in doing, but Jason pointed out that he watches a lot of them, and while he might occasionally get flurries of activity, of notifications for repos that he's watching, most of the time it's perfectly manageable. So you might want to consider watching modules, at least where you've got an active interest. And how many forks there are. So again, I wouldn't say fork things just for the sake of them, but if you regularly or even occasionally contribute to a particular project, it's worth keeping your fork alive. GitHub lets you easily sync it, but simply having a fork of a module helps to improve the reputation of that particular repo. So here we go. Star any modules you use. Consider watching modules. Optimize your own modules. And there is a link. I will the links are available in a PDF, which is on the it's linked from the event, but I can put them in the Zulip chat as well, if that would be helpful. So does this matter to wider search though? Is it going to matter beyond beyond GitHub? Is it going to help? If we search in Google, they can appear when keywords match. So whether that's keywords in the description, in the topics, or in the README, the overall mentions of Backdrop CMS, it will make it more visible across the internet. And if someone is looking for a CMS that has an integration or particular function, it may be that that's the route that they find a Backdrop by finding that CMS supports what they're wanting. So therefore, they're going to go for that. Now, GitHub uses no-follow links, and general wisdom suggests that no-follow links aren't any good for search engine optimization. And they're certainly a lot less value than links that aren't no-follow, that search engines will follow. However, there has been some evidence that Google will index no-follow links. So I wouldn't say they are worthless. But we're not just interested in what spiders see. We're also seeing about what people see. And people see no-follow links. And if the link is relevant, they may well click through. So if we can interest people in our repo and they go through to the Backdrop CMS site, then we're one step closer to helping them find out about Backdrop.
Martin, let me jump in. I need more context on no-follow links. What exactly are no-follow links?
Okay, let me share my screen. Let's hide the PowerPoint and hide that. So if we go to inspect, so I don't know if you can see this clearly, but
just not clearly. It's very blurry, but I can see it.
Yeah. Let's see if we can zoom. No, it doesn't zoom in the developer console. But basically, on these links, we have no follow, no opener, no refer, and these are things that GitHub automatically puts in. And it basically means when a search engine is going around looking at pages, if it sees a no follow, by default, it's not going to go down that link. It's a way of telling Google, actually, don't follow this link. Now, whether they do obey that it's not always, and as we say, there's some evidence that they do. So someone's done experiments of putting like a site that is not linked to from anywhere and putting it via a no follow link, and it's actually appeared in the search results. So I think we do it quite a bit in the forum as well, so people can't use it to game the system. Actually, in the README, so that's an internal one. Let's see if the backdrop. Yeah, so the internal ones, GitHub's not bothered about, but the external ones, it's adding the no follow into it by default. So it's quite a common thing across the internet that if you're allowing members of the public to put URLs in, it's quite common that and I'm fairly sure we do it quite a lot on backdropcms.org, that we automatically put no follow links after, so we're not giving weight to these links that might get put in.
So the relevance for this discussion is simply that these links aren't helping us a lot with our SEO on Backdrop itself. It's mostly within GitHub.
Okay. But it's also you're thinking about if people find this repo and they click through to it, it's giving them a way to find backdropcms.org, even if it's not helping the thing. And it may be that someone search for backdrop CMS and they'll start to search for that. They'll come at GitHub will be one of the results that they get. We do have this topic, backdrop CMS. I'm just going to try reloading to see if we've just got some more. That's great.
I've been working on mine.
Brilliant. I don't know when it's going to happen, but I have done a pull request to add more information to this page. So at some point, this is going to have more information, and it's going to have a link to both the Wikipedia page of Backdrop, the main Backdrop repo, and the backdropcms.org. So in the next day or so, I'd imagine it'll be populated because they've merged my pull request. So
I'm wondering if we can automate some of that, like the addition of topics. Like we could use the GitHub API to scrape the contrib projects and make sure that the three, like Backdrop CMS and Backdrop CMS, are being added.
It may be possible. I think you would have to use you'd have to use a token that had access to all of those of those repos. Very sorry, I've got a cat on the wrong side of the door.
Yeah, I've been updating some of my projects as we're talking. So
excellent.
Like I often get to a project page on GitHub and think, oh, gee, I wish there were a link back to backdrop.org. I don't think I realized that I could put the link right there for each contrib project. I think that would be super helpful.
Yeah.
To help people get back, like you say, to just get, if you find the recipe and want to get back to that, the page on backdrop.org, having that link under about. And I think I have noticed on occasion that that's possible. It might be that a few people have done that and I've seen it, but then I forget about it. And I have not been doing it with my own projects. So I will try to do that.
I think there's a page on the doc site about like creating contributed modules.
Mm-hmm.
It might be nice to add some of the stuff as like optional things people can do to that page.
Right.
Yeah.
I was about to say we have some templates as well when people are joining the contrib group where we help them. Like there might be even a template for creating a blank project. So somewhere in the README or somewhere, if these things were mentioned, it would be great. Or yeah, you already mentioned that this is available as a PDF, Martin. Maybe if it was also as an article when you have
Yeah,
a time, or yeah, like it doesn't have to be complete, like just maybe bullet points of what things can do, what people thinks, what things
yeah,
can people do.
yeah.
Sorry.
Okay. Okay, so in conclusion, optimize your own repo to help people find it within GitHub. Use your repo to point to Backdrop CMS in text, links, and the topic. And any questions? So that's
Does
uh,
do any of you know right now, as a backdrop maintainer, do I have the ability to add? So first of all, I do have the ability to add tags to other people's projects. So one of the questions is there anything wrong with that? Should I not do that? But also, do I have that permission because I have a super permission,
yeah,
or
I think
can
you have a
anyone do that that is a
I
member of the
think you have
control?
a superpower.
Okay, that's what I was
Because
thinking.
I can't do it on anyone else's site.
Okay.
So
Yeah, some of us are members of specific groups
Right.
in GitHub just for sort of like as moderators. Like,
Yeah, as we
for
help
example,
solve people's problems.
yeah, I'm part of the bug squad and the security group,
Right.
so I might have elevated permissions. I wouldn't go doing it. Like, for example, I can think of cases. For example, Irina just joined us, and maybe for their theme, their contrib theme that they recently released for Stanford, instead of linking to backdropcms.org, the project, they might want to link directly to their company or uh,
Sure.
organization. So it would be intrusive to go and change things for people. But if we have it as a template when it initially happens, and then we don't touch it again after people have edited it, maybe that would be okay. But yeah.
I hear that point. I mean, I think we should have a policy discussion about that. Like, I wouldn't change what somebody else already put on their project, but if they
Yeah.
haven't done anything, I don't know if I see harm
Yeah.
in
I
it.
can't see any
Fair
harm
enough.
in putting backdrop,
Right.
CMS backdrop and CMS on, even if you don't put anything else on.
Yeah.
As
Well,
even
actually, the machine names, the namespace of the repository is actually the name of the project in backdropcms.org, so we can easily map things and put the proper
yeah,
project. Yeah. With the exception of things like B, for example, that
yeah.
do they maybe we already have a node. We have a node
We
for
do have a
B.
node for B.
Yeah.
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 But we don't publish the releases to
Yep.
Backdrop CMS. So
I would add something that you didn't talk. You talked, I think, mostly about sort of the SEO within in the traffic. What you didn't mention that I think would also that has to do with repos and making helping people find the community would be like using we have links on for every project page on backdropcms.org, links to the wiki on GitHub for the project. 95% of those have nothing in them. Okay.
yeah.
And actually using those wiki pages would be a big benefit to the community. It would probably, I don't know, do you know, Martin, is wiki pages show up, GitHub wiki pages, do they show up in Google searches? I'm not sure that I've ever been
No.
directed to.
So when I looked into this, it appears that I think it depends a bit on how popular your repo is. but also if your wiki is available for the wider community so if you made it available for the wider community to edit and add pages, then it won't show in repo. And this is one of the reasons in B I'm considering kind of adding the content of the wiki into the repo, and then making the wiki update just sort of automatically, but only via pull requests. So it makes it a bit more. It might make it appear in search, but I think in general the wikis aren't going to appear in Google search.
Okay.
They might appear in GitHub search. So I don't know if we search for just wondering if we search for something in GitHub, whether it gives any wiki results. I don't think it does.
I also think like, well, you know, one of the things in Drupal.org, that if you searched a problem, you would often get directed to the issue queue for the module on Drupal.org. That doesn't seem to happen so much. I don't think it, like, yeah, it doesn't happen as much in GitHub, and I think I've heard that GitHub kind of prevents that, which is unfortunate because that's, you know, like, you know, finding issues that have been opened in the issue queue could be very helpful to people.
Yeah.
The other thing, somebody, Izzy in Zula this week raised the sort of the pages that Drupal.org had about, I forget what he called them, but sort of the contrib pages that people could add to. And he's like, where's the equivalent of that on backdrop.org? And I mean, I think somebody pointed him to the wikis, but they're so seldomly used, and they don't get Google, you know, if they're not Google searched, that makes them less useful. But you know, regardless, right now I'd like to see more people putting documentation in the wiki on their pages. But I'm also not sure that's really the best solution if Google doesn't, you know, if GitHub is not encouraging Google to use wiki pages, and maybe that's not where we should be doing our documentation. Maybe we need a better place for it. But
yeah,
when the University of Minnesota switched to using Drupal, I talked to some people at the U, and one of the things they loved about Drupal was that, like, you know, they could Google any problem they had, and they would get taken to forum posts or you know, documentation, blog posts that people had written. They felt like the community documentation in an informal sense was so huge that was like a huge benefit. And I just don't feel like in Backdrop we're getting that. Like, you know, part of it is there's just a lot less of that content out there. But if a lot of that is happening in GitHub, and GitHub is discouraging, you know, Google from indexing it, then you know, it's hard for people to find a lot of the community support that we're.
I think it was last Thursday, and Steve had questions about the database, writing some code with the database API, and RG Piano pointed him to a Drupal page, Drupal 7 page, which was human written rather than just sort of taken out of the code documentation. And said, "Oh, that's great. We might want to look at copying that." And I think RG Piano did most of it. I think I did one page. I don't know if anyone else did, but within a couple of hours, we'd copied that into the documentation. So it might be that where there is specific
Mhm.
documentation like that on Drupal.org, it's got that kind of open license that
Right.
we could use. We should consider copying that and backdropalizing it
Yes.
to make it so because that's where things will get picked up in search, really.
Yeah. Okay. Anyways, does anybody else have any other questions or comments about using Git? I mean, I definitely feel like I'm surprised sometimes at some very active members of our community that I don't think even have GitHub accounts, which, I mean, it's okay. I don't want to pressure people in our community to get GitHub accounts, except that really, like in the Drupal world, if you had an account on Drupal.org, you sort of had access to everything. And here, you have to have backdrop.org, you have to have forum.backdrop.org, you got to have, and then you got to have GitHub. And I think that has been a negative thing.
Tim, I have
go
a
ahead.
question here. I believe that Backdrop has so this single sign-on is a big deal in general.
Yeah.
For backdrop.org modules, in authentication space, do we have what are the modules that sign on?
So
What are the
between,
modules? I
if you're
see
thinking,
LDAP. I see LDAP, MailChimp, Twitter.
there is a
There was GWT.
I think it's Simple SAML, which might be a possibility for wider things. But there are a number of different options, but I'm not sure that we've for the backdrop cms.org, we've not really mastered anything.
Yeah, let me quick give the background. In terms of between backdrop.org and forums and the events site, okay, the status is that we've talked about how great it would be to have single sign-on for as long as I've been a member of the community. Originally, the hope was to use the bakery module from Drupal because that seemed like the right solution 10 years ago. Nate has made it pretty clear that probably that's no longer the case, that we were never able to get the bakery module working for our projects. And he has argued that there's so much more available for single sign-on today than there was 10 years ago, that probably we should abandon the bakery module is our choice and work on something else. I would say the only reason that we don't have single sign-on is nobody has gotten excited about making it happen that wants it to happen. Like, every time we have a discussion like this, everybody says we really should have single sign-on. This, Irina, would be the kind of thing that if we, maybe we just need to hire, raise some money and hire somebody to do it for us, because clearly nobody in our community is motivated to do it.
I speak a minute on the benefits of single sign-on, what you're trying to do with it.
Well, it just means you have one login you don't have to create separate accounts for every backdrop site. Right now, you have to create one account for forums.backdrop. You have to create another account for backdrop.org. You have to create another account for the events site. And then you have to create another one for the documentation site. With single sign-on, you just have one account and you can log into all 4 of those sites.
It sounds
Yeah,
like
and if you have a GitHub account, you don't even have to create an account. You can be authenticated with your GitHub account,
Right.
so you don't have to go through the registration process and so on.
Or a lot of places have sign on with your Gmail or sign on with your Apple account or whatever.
Yes.
That's more likely that people will have a Gmail address than they will have.
Yeah, but it's Sarvashri, it's also more controversial. They have singles,
Mhm.
like we would not want to have single sign-on with Facebook because now we're associating ourselves too close with a very big company that is controversial. Even GitHub might pose that problem for some people, but I don't know. We could talk about it.
Yeah, and you can also get sometimes you can put people off
Yeah,
if you
exactly.
only provide it via the sort of federated services, because you say you want to do it via Gmail, then you get a big warning saying what you might be sharing
Right.
of your Gmail account with that application. And then people might think, I'll not bother. Where sometimes you might want to go to a site and say, actually, I just want to sign in with an email address and password because I don't want you to know all this information from my other service. So there's that. We're constant. There's always that balance between convenience and security.
So a sign-on with just a simple email would be probably most ideal.
Well, yes, but have it one account for all of the backdrop sites, not so you
Yeah,
have to
one
create
account.
4 different accounts.
One email account for everything. I
Yeah.
like that.
And I mean, I could see us using GitHub as a single sign-on just because we are, like it or not, we're very integrated with big GitHub. And so, but
Well, people could
I-
use the same email that they use with GitHub to sign on.
So often people
Mhm.
can have an option to either create account with email, and that is true too for lots of like for Pantheon dashboard. I can say, oh, I want to sign in with Google because it's hosted
Right.
on GSP, or I want to log in with my email, and I have
Right.
both of them. And people
Yeah.
might have here for more dev-oriented places, people would say, I just wasn't there this week, where you can sign it with email or GitLab and GitHub, because these are 2 major providers.
Yeah.
Well, my pitch is this would be a really great thing for us to get. If someone that's listening has the skills to help us do this, please step forward. If somebody doesn't have the skills but is really motivated, just show up at every meeting and say, what do we need in order to get this to happen? And sometimes if we define the problem clear enough, then someone with the skills will step forward and do it. If we if we've hashed out the problem enough, right? But sometimes the person with the skill doesn't want to do all the preliminary work. So if we had a very, like a user acceptance document that said, this is exactly what we need. This is what we want. The community's agreed to it. Then it would be easier maybe to recruit someone, or we do some fundraising and we say,
I think fundraising is great
Yeah.
option. I think
Yeah, I do too.
fundraising would be very, very helpful.
Just to say, I mean, we do have. I mean, I don't know how well they're working. I've experimented a bit, but we do have simple SAML modules for Backdrop CMS. One module that enables Backdrop to be a simple SAML identity provider, and one that enables a Backdrop site to be a client. So that may be, and that's sort of quite a recognized protocol. So it may be that's the route we should take. So it's an internal solution rather than relying on external services. But that's just my thoughts.
Yeah, I'm good with all of that. I think the next step for this would be to come to a dev meeting and just help. If we had the discussion in the community about what solution we wanted, then it would be a little easier to find somebody to do it. Right now, we haven't even defined like what the right solution is. So we need to wrap this meeting up. The dev meeting is supposed to be starting now. Before we leave, I want to take a minute and talk about future topics. Irina, you and I have not talked about this, and you haven't mentioned anything about it in our backdrop area, but people have noticed the paper that you just published recently about contribution. Is there something there in terms of a topic for one of our user groups? Do you have like some recommendations or some, would that be valuable as a user group meeting, that topic, or?
Well, this is a very philosophical article that is talking about how people, what are the processes that support weaker contributions. I would love to write another article about release of D2B module, because this is where we can also track exactly the same trends and say, hey, this module has been released in 3 months, which is kind of outstanding, and it deserves a special occasion. I could also write an article about how different open source communities influence each other, which is also a great topic. However, I think that I would like to, at this point, to concentrate on backdrop events, making them happening, people being aware of these events. And first one would be Backdrop Summit at BADCamp, which has been announced already. So I don't have a way out. I already signed, I signed the papers.
Okay, the summit has been announced?
Well, the BADCamp has been announced, and
Okay.
the meetings are on Thursdays. The organizers meetings.
Okay.
And I said that I will sign up for that. AI is another excellent topic. So there's lots of great topics. So when is when is next user group? In 2 weeks?
Yes.
July historically is kind of difficult month because some people think it's summer. I know
Yeah.
not everyone considers it summer. Also, different people have different perspective on what summer is. But yeah, summers are difficult times for events.
I understand, but I think, we're doing these meetings every 2 weeks, and it would be good to just keep them going. They're pretty informal, so we're not asking people to do a lot of prep. So I would like to keep them going, but recognize the fact that attendance will slip, and if people want to wait till fall before they do a topic, that's okay. Because one of the big values of these user group meetings, let's go ahead and end the